World War II started a few years after World War I, but the main cause of it was the Great Depression and economy failure. The Great Depression started in 1929, shortly after World War I. During World War I, there was not only a demand for items such as militaristic weapons, but also for smaller things like shoes, clothing, and food. After the war ended, America produced the same amount of products as they did during the war. After a while, those products built up to the point that the working class did not have enough money to buy the products they made. Finally, there was a decreased demand for goods, so factories and firms cut back on production. People began to lose their jobs and bought even fewer goods, and the cycle started all over. A day known as Black Tuesday on October 29th, the stock market finally crashed. People became very depressed and felt useless. Men felt destroyed. 23,000 businesses failed in just 1 year, 1929. Crops were ruined because of the Dust Bowl that dried up land and left more people starving. Some people were evicted from their homes and pushed onto the streets, and some even slept in sewer pipes just to stay warm. Luckily, there were food kitchens provided by non-profit organizations that provided free or low-cost food. People gave up and abandoned their families. Some couldn't think straight and just didn't know what to do. America was worried after the system collapsed, so banks quickly pulled back all loans and investments they had in other countries. America also put high tariffs on all imports called the Smoot-Hawley tariff. Now countries that relied on America's loans were devastated, and the Depression became global. The Depression affected France in 1931. Even though France was not damaged as much as other countries, there was still a big change in the economy. This led to the rise of the Socialist Popular Front. Germany was hit the hardest from this action because they had more investments from America after World War II than any other country did. Their government was Weimar Republic. With the rise of unemployment rate, Germany voted in a dictator, Hitler, who promised to put Germany back on its feet. The Great Depression did not have as much as an effect on Japan, but their economy shrank by 8%. During the time that Takahashi Korekiyo decided to create a stimulus over deficit spending, there was an effect of devaluation of money, but it was spent on the products such as ammunition. Japan soon became technologically advanced. Franklin D. Roosevelt was voted in as President of America in 1932. Franklin Roosevelt had this big idea of bringing change and soon established the New Deal. The New Deal obtained 15 acts or programs designed to help the economy. One act was the Agricultural Adjustment Act, which provided farmers with the crop subsidies to reduce production but protected farmers from price drops. Another program was the Civil Works Administration that allowed for 4 million people to begin work again. Because of this, Roosevelt became more known as a hero and a friend than just a president. He understood what it felt like to be hopeless since he had polio. He tried new things being the lead of the government, but was not afraid to negotiate about anything. The economy started to get better, but was not back to normal. Franklin D. Roosevelt also asked that the citizens of America trusted the banks and asked them to put their money back in them. His plan was successful after shutting down banks and calling the Congress together to pass emergency laws in order to provide money to the banks. Britain, France, and America adopted the ideas of appeasement. Appeasement was when one country got another country to do something that was pleasing to them, but the country doing this got something out of it too. The Treaty of Versailles ended the war between Germany and the Allied powers, being one of the few peace treaties. Even though Germany was weakened at this time, they would not be permanently weakened. This led to World War II. But since Americans followed appeasement, they figured unless they are directly affected by the war, they have no reason to be involved. Although they were isolated, America paid close attention to the Germans and Adolf Hitler, who planned to take over Europe. Germany decided to invade Poland and expand out. In 1939, the Allied powers declared war on the Axis powers. The Allies responded by either isolating themselves from the issue or continuing appeasing the fascist powers to avoid any more potential problems. There were two major European fronts, including Eastern and Western. On the Western Front, the Allied powers, consisting of Britain, France, and the United States, were fighting Germany. On June 6 of 1944, Allied powers launched the largest terror attack on Germany, known as D-Day. In result to this, the Allied powers were pushed back. On the Eastern Front, the Soviet Union was trying to keep Germany away from them and succeeded in a battle called Stalingrad. In the Pacific theater of the war, U.S. was trying to get to Japan by bombing smaller islands. Franklin Roosevelt and America wanted to sell supplies to the Soviet Union to fight off Germany, since that is the resource they lacked the most. They gave a gun to every other soldier and ammunition to the one who didn't get a gun. Japan then attacked Pearl Harbor, blowing up some of the oil refineries there. Japan did not do any permanent damage to the Americans, but Americans were full of rage. America declared war on fascist governments, including Germany, fighting with Russians and Britons. This was a large turning point in the war. Some of the other Allied powers were areas such as Poland, Greece, Czechoslovakia, and Norway. America was changed forever after World War II. Even though they became a lot more advanced in the weapon category, a lot more people were discriminated against and are still today. Germany and Japan were still against the Americans, but felt threatened by America. Women Americans were valued more since they took combat positions in war. Since many Japanese Americans, African Americans, and Mexican Americans were sometimes threats to the U.S., they were abused and they were involved in being victims of a lot of racism. World War II ended when America sent troops to bomb Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The bombs were massive and destructive, killing thousands of people. The first bomb was the Hiroshima, used as the scare tactic, but since the Japanese did not take it seriously, Americans bombed a populated place called Nagasaki. The Germans surrendered to the Soviets on May 8, 1945, and Hitler committed suicide. The Allies overcame the Axis powers in a successful victory. Following World War II, there were many consequences. There was not only racism, but there was discrimination against different people and religions. The Jewish people went through a Holocaust. They were put through concentration camps, many burned alive, and all were separated from families. The survivors of the Holocaust and World War II are still discriminated against today, and they find it hard to remember all the things that happened, and some even deny it because it's too hard to talk about. The role of the United States government played a big part of everything that happened during this time. If the government would have decided to go to the war any earlier, they could have lost everything because America would have had a lack of preparation.